1. I'd say this happened roughly around 2010. I remember it was a weekend and in the afternoon around 3 or 4 p.m. I passed a living room where my sisters were watching a horror movie on a laptop. I went by to get a look at it, to see if it looked any good. It was The Orphanage, and it was up to the suspenseful scene where the woman is playing the red light, green light game with the ghosts, and she turns against the wall and counts. I thought it looked pretty creepy, and like a good old-fashioned gothic haunted house movie, and I made a mental note to watch the DVD myself later. I think I asked what movie it was and they said it's some Spanish horror movie or something like that. I don't remember them saying the title of the film. They obviously did, but I forgot the title afterwards. After catching that brief scene, probably no more than 10 seconds of film, I went away for a little while, and then came back. This is where it gets weird, if you know the plot of the movie. My sisters were still watching the movie. It appeared to be the same movie. It looked like it was at a big revelation moment or climax, so I guessed it was nearly over. I couldn't help myself and watched the end, even though it would spoil the movie. What happened was, the woman, I assumed it was the same character who played the hiding game in the earlier scene, was outside in a little courtyard or backyard area, where there was a swing hanging from a tree branch, and she was pushing this little girl on the swing. Suddenly she looked back over her shoulder, up to the highest window of the building behind her, which I assumed was the titular orphanage, and there's an evil-looking woman looking down at her. I assumed this was the main ghost or antagonist. And when she looked forward again, the little girl was gone. You get a better look at the older woman and realize it's her, but older. Time travel was implied, and I remember one of my sisters saying something in surprise about the characters being the same person. But one was the past self. It seemed to be this all-you-zombie style twist, where she was a little girl at the orphanage, and as an adult, went back in time to become a caretaker who worked there. And the end implied she would go back in time a third time, and was doomed to become the severe-looking ghostly woman who haunted the orphanage. Or at least that was my understanding based on what I saw, and what my sister said. I also remember the scene fading to nighttime, and then the adult woman walked away, and it was just the older woman in the window, and the orphanage was totally empty and abandoned. Then the picture faded to black, and the credits came up. I feel somewhat obligated to say I wasn't on drugs or half asleep, or anything at the time. Unfortunately, I forgot to watch the film at the time. The DVD was returned, and probably because I felt the ending had been spoiled, I didn't feel in any rush to watch it. Sometimes, every other year, I would remember the film and think, I'll have to watch that in full someday. It looked scary and had a cool twist. But I just never got around to it. Around 2016, I thought about the film, and decided to look up the plot on Wiki to see exactly what the plot was all about, even though I thought I already knew. The plot on Wiki completely omitted the ending I'd seen, and that's what finally got me to see the film. I wanted to see this scene again to verify the film I had seen in 2010. When I finally watched the movie in full, about 3/4 of the way in, I'm thinking, where's the little girl, where's the older woman or ghost? The film's going to end soon and they don't have enough time to set up the time travel stuff. I became really eager to see how the end that I saw about 6 years earlier would fit into everything that had happened up to that point. Finally, at the end, of course, none of the time travel, little girl, old woman stuff happened. There was no scene at nighttime with the window. Story-wise, the actual ending is vaguely similar, because she becomes a ghost at the orphanage. But there's never 2 or 3 coexisting versions of her like I saw. The entire ending scene that I saw, with the swing and the window, the day turning to night, and panning away from the building and then going to credits, was not in the movie. For a while I just assumed that I'd seen the end of a different movie. But since then I haven't seen or heard of a movie with the time travel plot I described. I still remember the ending scene I saw, but I have no idea what I watched. 2. A few months ago I moved to a small town because I needed more support dealing with depression. A relative here is a pretty big fixture of the community, and essentially promised my family they'd keep an eye on me. When I first got here, I was trying my hardest to make good impressions, so I got a job, enrolled in school, and even made a couple of friends. A few weeks later, I had a small depressive episode where I couldn't get up the motivation to get out of bed. I didn't tell anyone, and it only lasted a little over a week. But regardless, 2 separate friends came by with a book and food. My local relative called me concerned because it looked like my car hadn't moved for a while. And a professor scolded me about attendance when I got back. The weirdness started after that. I noticed it at work, where multiple co-workers and clients would mention things that didn't make sense to me, like, "Wow, finished lunch already?" when I hadn't been to lunch. Or one instance when my immediate supervisor texted me, "Where are you going? Are you okay?" when I had been sitting in my office for hours. One of my clients actually asked if I was mad at her because I had ignored her outside her doorway. I hadn't even been to the floor her room was on that week, let alone the hallway where she was. It was all kind of weird, but I sort of brushed it off as human error. More recently, my temp job ended, and having less structure has kind of made my depression worse again, leaving me essentially bedridden for the past month. I've left my house a total of 2 times on my bike at night to get food. I have received texts from friends claiming to have seen your car all around town, and again this morning before church. "I saw you this morning on my way to work. I don't usually spot people, but I recognized your car," etc. The thing is, my car is a weirder model, and has a custom finish that looks great in the sun because it kind of sparkles. It's very unique, and it's been parked this whole time. There have been deposits into my bank account that I haven't made since I have no income right now, and I can't explain where the money is from. The bank told me they were cash deposits from the drive-through teller. I'm also getting response texts from local numbers I don't recognize, like, "Me too." I wouldn't be very interested when I haven't sent anything to those numbers ever. My number isn't publicized, and it's not a local area code. I've had this phone number for years. I actually logged onto my school's online gradebook to kind of assess the damage. And not only am I getting points for assignments and tests I haven't taken, I'm getting in-class discussion points. No one has been by or texted to check up on me, like the first time. It's all small stuff, but added up, it's really weird. Like someone or something is running my life without me. Normally I would ask questions or correct people, but the longer this goes on, the stronger my aversion is to saying anything. I kind of get this feeling where the front of my face gets hot, and my eyes start to water if I think about talking about it. Like an overwhelming sense that I'm not supposed to. 3. This happened 2 days ago, when I was getting ready for class and brushing my hair in front of my closet mirrors. You can see my bed in the reflection, and my cat was sleeping on it. He yawned in the reflection and settled down, and I looked over my shoulder at him, but I noticed something weird. I looked in the mirror and he was curled up, his head pointing towards my right side. I looked back at him, and his head was pointing upwards to the left-hand side, curled up the exact same way, but it was almost like the image of him was flipped around. I looked in the mirror. His head was pointing to my right-hand side, looked back at him, left-hand side. When I looked back at the mirror, I actually stuck my right hand out, pointing with my brush in the direction his head was in. Looked back at him, still pointing towards the left, contradicting how I was pointing with my brush. I looked back in the mirror, and now his reflection is also pointing left, with my arm still sticking out, and pointing my brush towards the right, now for no goddamn reason. I have never been so freaked out by mirrors, and I'm still seriously debating on taping up some towels to my goddamn closet doors, so I don't have to see them every time I go to bed. Edit. Wanted to add. I was looking over my shoulder each time. My feet were planted, my body facing the mirror the whole time. I didn't pivot my body around at all. 4. This happened to me sometime during the fall 2016 semester, but I really didn't think too much about it until I started reading the posts here. I was in class and got a text from a number asking if I was coming to the 11:30 meeting because Mark said he had told me about it. I was really confused because, while it is likely I would have forgotten about the meeting, I rarely forget the people I meet, and I have only met one Mark who spells his name with a C, and that was in high school. Also, the person referred to me by name in their text, which was even weirder. Not a lot of people have the same name as me, so after thinking it over I text back, "Who are you?" I put my phone away, and when class ends I look down at my phone and there is a text. I don't exactly remember what it said now, but it was something to the effect of, "Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is..." and I was wondering if you were coming to the meeting. I don't exactly remember what the person's name is, but it sounded a lot like my sister's orthodontist's name, so it kind of sticks out as a detail. Anyway, after reading that text, I was super confused and decided to just call them. A woman picked up and I said, "Hey, it's Deeps 420. You sent me a text about a meeting." She says, "Oh, yeah, hi. Sorry about not introducing myself. Are you coming to the meeting?" And then I say, "Could you remind me where we met? I don't remember scheduling a meeting with anyone." And then she says, "Wait, is this not Deeps 420? And then I say, "It is, maybe you have the wrong Deeps 420. And then she just gets really silent, and I don't really remember what she said after that, but her tone indicated she was freaked out. Then she just said sorry and hung up. When I went home, I asked my sister what her orthodontist's name was, and it was kinda similar, but not the same as the woman's. I also told this story to a few friends, but mostly forgot about it until now. Note, I have my phone set to automatically delete texts after 30 days, and so I don't have the text messages or the number anymore, and I just looked through my pictures to see if I took a screenshot so I could post it, but I didn't take a screenshot, which makes me so mad at myself now for not asking enough questions and getting to the bottom of it. Also, before reading this thread and thinking of it as a glitch, I just explained it by believing that there must have been a big list of names that the person who texted me got my number from, and that there may have been two people with the same name as me, and that the person accidentally texted me instead of them, but I don't know. 5. My name is Olivia. I'm a 22-year-old female, but at the time of this story I was 12 years old. I was home one day with my oldest brother, who was around his early 20s, and he'd been living with our parents, either working or going to school in our town. I don't really recall. Well, I had been in the kitchen in our house when all of a sudden I heard the voice of my mother calling me, which sounded like it was coming towards the back of the house. But I'll explain the layout so you can have an idea of where I heard the voice coming from. The living room and kitchen dining room area are just next to each other. When you're in the living room, there is an open door to the right, and there is a hallway which has my bedroom, first door on the left. Take a right, and there's a bathroom in the middle, and my oldest brother's room is right across from this bathroom, and another room between oldest brother's and bathroom on the right. The reason I explain this is because I heard my mother yell, really loudly, "Olivia!" as I was walking to the kitchen. Now, when my mom yells like this, it means that I didn't do something that I was supposed to do, like leaving a mess and not picking it up, or not picking up the dishes that would be in my parents' bedroom. That was the first one when you walk in this hallway. So naturally, I sigh in frustration and reply in Spanish, "¿Qué quiere?" "What do you want?" No response. Again, I ask, "Ma, ¿qué quiere?" "Mom, what do you want?" Again, I get no response. Then I shout again, "Ma, Mama, ¿qué quiere?" "Mom, what do you want?" After about 5 minutes of this, oldest brother walks up to me, to which he heard me calling for my mom, since he speaks Spanish as well, with the most puzzled look on his face, and asks in English, "What are you doing?" To which the conversation went like this. Me, "I heard my mom calling me. Is she here?" My brother then keeps that confusing look on his face, looking at me like I'm insane, to which he said, "No, she's at work. Me, who called me then?" He shrugged and walked away, while still looking at me as if I'd lost my mind. To this day, I don't know what I'd heard, and I can assure you, I am not crazy. It sounded so clear in the voice of my mother. But I still can't explain who called me by name, or why it sounded like my mother shouting for me when she's angry to let me know I was in trouble. But it still creeps me out to this day and is very unnerving when I think of this experience. 6. I've been cooped up in my room for a few days due to a gnarly cough. Nothing outrageous. I haven't had a fever or anything. I've only taken cough syrup and cough drops, so I'm clear of mind. It's important to note that the door in my room is broken. It has no knob, and so it hangs open slightly. My room is adjacent to the living room that connects to the kitchen, so I witness and hear a lot of foot traffic. At 4 p.m., my dad leaves for work the same as he always does, and then it's just me and my mother. My mother is upstairs in her room asleep, wearing a pale pink robe. My dad works at an industrial factory, so he wears the same uniform to work every day, a cobalt blue shirt and dark work pants along with heavy boots. Very little movement goes on, and I'm just lying in bed propped up on my phone. 2 hours or so goes by, and I happen to look at my door when what appears to be my father in his uniform walks by, towards the front door. I didn't hear the door open, or his very loud motorcycle in the driveway. At the time I didn't register this, and thought he forgot his lunch or something, and was now on his way back to work. I just had a coughing fit a few minutes before and didn't really feel like jumping up and running out to tease him about forgetting something, which he almost never does. So I just took out my phone and texted him, "Me, did you forget your lunch?" I got a response around 8 p.m, one of his breaks. "Dad, no." "Why, did Mom make me something?" "Me, no, I thought you came home because you forgot your lunch." "Why did you come home?" "Dad, I didn't come home." At this point I'm upset, because I swore that I saw him walk by my door, which was almost always halfway ajar. After thinking about it, I realized that I never heard his motorcycle, or the door open, or his heavy boots on the floor. I got a good look, and I know I saw a tall silhouette, and blue. His shirts are such an obnoxious bright blue. I was downstairs by myself almost all day, and my mother didn't leave her room until halfway after this happened. She was napping. This wasn't like seeing something out of the corner of my eye. I was looking right at my door for a good few seconds. Has anyone experienced something similar? Hey everyone, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to this 6 Glitch in the Matrix Stories video. I was having a hard time coming up with stories long enough this week. Enough stories to use, certainly, but they were all quite shorter, and that's just the way it goes some weeks. So we have 6 instead of 5, otherwise it would have been a much shorter video. I would of course like to say thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. There was something I wanted to say, what was it? Oh yeah, I keep getting requests that I should do live streams and things like that. To be honest with you, I don't really want to do story readings on live streams, because I wouldn't enjoy it. I'd just be fumbling over my words and farting half the time, to be honest with you, and no one wants to hear that. Unless you're into that sort of thing, in which case, please keep it to yourself. No shaming, just keep it to yourself. Please. But so what I've done is I've set up a Twitch page. And because I want to keep it separate from my YouTube page, because things seem fairly okay to stream games on Twitch. I'm not sure of the legality of it, but it seems okay. So I'm going to look into it, see what the copyright thing is. If it's generally accepted that it's fine to do, then what I'll be doing is I will play games while we have a bit of a chat, just so it's something to do. And I think that's probably more interesting, certainly more visually interesting than looking at my silly channel logo while I'm fumbling through reading stories and that sort of thing. Not that, live streaming stories isn't a good thing to do if that's what you enjoy, but I know for a fact I wouldn't enjoy it. So yeah, Twitch is... I couldn't get Hellfreezer over there. For some reason, some other bugger had took it, and there was a few other Hellfreezer names. So I called myself the Hellfreezer. Because I am the definite article. All those other Hellfreezers are just pretenders to my glorious throne. I'll probably defeat them all in armed, unarmed combat. Well, they'll be armed, I won't be armed. Have to give them some kind of advantage to make it fair. Okay, anyway, with that I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.